Welcome everyone to all the members of the Horde and of the Alliance. I'm Joe from the Brothers Azeroth. This is going to be the first Warcraft WoW news video that I do here, and I can't debate on whether or not I should. So obviously I decided to do so. Anyways, Chris Metzen returns to Blizzard full-time to create the next generation of adventures in World of Warcraft. Now, he retired in 2016, but took an advisor role. Basically, he was just not doing anything. And was arguably keeping to himself. Spending time with his family, which is important. Chris Metzen, the former senior vice president of story and franchise development at Blizzard, has returned to Warcraft. And this time, it's for real. Realsies. Blizzard announced today that Metzen has taken on a full-time role as the executive creative director of the Warcraft universe. Metzen had a long and storied career at Blizzard and was one of the company's most visible figures for his work on major game series including Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo. He was the creative director on the World of Warcraft MMO and some of its most popular expansions, including the Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich-King, and Cataclysm, held the same role for the multiplayer FPS Overwatch. He announced his retirement from game development in 2016, the same year Overwatch came out, saying he wanted to take some time to focus on his family. He eventually decided to try his hand at board game development with a 2021 project called Ouroboros, Coils of the Serpent. And in 2022, he dipped his toes back into the Warcraft waters by taking on the role of creative advisor on the Warcraft series. Okay, so I was wrong at the start. Whatever. His new job sounds like it will be much more hands-on. We are excited to share that Chris Metzen has taken on a full-time job as executive creative director of the Warcraft universe, Blizzard announced on Twitter. Right now, his main focus is supporting our World of Warcraft leadership in crafting the next generation of adventures. Chris was instrumental in developing the foundations of the Warcraft universe, and we are thrilled for him to rejoin our teams in shaping what's to come. At BlizzCon, he and the team will be sharing what we've been working on. We hope to see you there. Yeah, very few people are going to show. You've kind of, I think, destroyed a lot of fan trust. Metzen teased that reveal in his own post announcing his comeback. It's been amazing working on Warcraft again, like coming home. The stories we're developing right now, how the world unfolds over the next few years, well, I can't wait for y'all to see where we're headed. It's a portentous comment. Ooh, yep. Very much so. But not in the way Blizzard's thinking. Many players expect Blizzard will unveil a new World of Warcraft expansion at BlizzCon, beginning with Wrath of the Lich-King in 2008. WoW expansions have dropped at a rate of one every 2 years. I think that's a little too fast. I always did think that was too fast. With the most recent Dragonflight arriving in 2022, that makes 2024 the presumed target for the next expansion, which fits with BlizzCon 2023 reveal in November. Okay. His return to Warcraft comes at a time when Blizzard is in a flux. Last minute downgrades to Overwatch 2 left fans unsatisfied and angry. Diablo 4 stumbled badly at launch and is still struggling to find its footing. Probably won't. Blizzard also never seemed to fully recover from the allegations of widespread discrimination and certain harassment at the company, something Metzen apologized for in 2021. Had nothing to do with him. Why was he apologizing? He was never publicly implicated in any wrongdoing, but said that he and other people in leadership positions at Blizzard failed to many people when they need the usual virtue signal apology, which means nothing. And he shouldn't be the one to apologize. He had nothing to do with any of these allegations. Metzen, in my opinion, is a creative who, when it comes to the original Warcraft stuff, he was, and even the early expansions, I find that he was an incredible visionary. Now, while written fantasy had succumbed to a dark age of sorts around 1990, and nothing of any real worth was written for a long time, outside maybe the occasional Dragonlance novel, the thing is, cinema was still trumping on ahead with no problems. Just look at any of the fantasy movies of the 90s and of the early 2000s. They were great. Then you get video games. Now, video games was very odd, and arguably one of the main people who helped launch a great era of video game history and especially fantasy was Metzen. Metzen was instrumental. He is a true visionary creatively, and I really love his vision for orcs because his orcs were markedly different from those of Tolkien. Everyone else had tried to imitate Tolkien's orcs to greater and lesser extent. Metzen decided no, he's going to chart his own course. But in turn, you have his elves, which are, I find, a bit of a downgrade from Tolkien's elves, but they're still interesting. I mean, you look up anything to do with the Blood Elves, they're fascinating. Even the Night Elves are a little interesting. And you look at a lot of his ideas for the Tauren, that's revolutionary. And it's not just the races and the kingdoms of his world that are beautiful, but you also look at StarCraft. It's a great, great setting. But the problem is, arguably, his last few years were creatively bankrupt. He started to push Thrall, never a very interesting character, towards a green Jesus type of role. He was more interested in telling Thrall's story than actually the story of the whole of Warcraft. And Thrall became increasingly hard to like and even be interested in because he's perfect. And the expansions began to kind of become just more about kind of putting an end to the Horde versus Alliance fight, and just posing a third threat or something, like throwing a bit of a grenade into the midst, which could be interesting at times, but ultimately, we're there for the Horde and the Alliance, arguably. That was always the most interesting stuff. Not, I don't know, some new apocalypse or going off into space and fighting space gods and entities. And while he wasn't involved with all the stuff that came after 2016, the lead up to 2016 after Wrath of the Lich-King was not great, I find. It was all trash, for the most part. Not all, but for the most part. So, arguably, he began to decline, I would say. But that's just my opinion. Tell me what you all think, and don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button if you enjoyed this video, and even if you didn't, as though you were Doomhammer taking out his enemies.